Well, good morning, everyone. I hope you're as excited as I am about this morning's session. We haven't done one of these for a while, so we're really excited about you all joining us this morning. I can't believe the number that we've got, so that's absolutely brilliant. My name's Fiona, and I'm going to be with my friend, who will introduce himself in a second, to do this session with you. I'll hand over to you, Andy.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. See quite a few school names I recognise popping up in the chat, which is really good to see. So there are some schools that I don't generally look after, so welcome to all of those people as well. So for those people's benefit, my name's Andy Clay. I head up the Education Success Partner team at Whizz Education. So if you've got any follow-up from this, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll put my email address up at the end.
Thanks, Andy. Now, all of the activities that we're going to do this morning are going to be in a handout that you'll receive afterwards. So you might just want to sit and enjoy the session this morning. You might want to have your pen and papers ready to join in. We obviously want to go at some pace, so if we leave you behind, don't worry, because you can do that hopefully another time in class or maybe at home. So yeah, we're going to have some fun. We've also got the chat function, which only we can see your chat, so you can't see each other's chat because sometimes it goes so crazy it can be quite distracting. So we can see your chat, and we would love you to put all sorts of things in the chat because we want to know what you're all thinking as well. So please use the chat function. Okay, so whilst you've been waiting for us to get started, there was a little activity for you to have a go at that was on the screen. Because today's session is all about going round and round, and it's a play with words, because we're going to look at some shapes and numbers and different things we can do with those. And then also, I don't know if any of you have ever been in a maze. Now, mazes always seem to be going round and round, and if you're not careful, you can quite easily take the wrong route and come to a dead end and get lost. So that's our play with words today. So we're going to be doing some work with shapes, numbers, and then we're going to be doing some maze challenges. Okay, hope you're all ready. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to my visualizer and we'll have a look at the activity that you've been maybe having a go at whilst you've been waiting for us. Right, let's switch over. Oh dear, that isn't what we wanted. Let's
the Ocean's Day though, anyway.
Yeah, happy Ocean's Day. We'll talk about that in a minute. Right, so there we go. So hopefully now you can see my visualizer and you can see some circles. So the challenge was to draw some lines going across the circle, and the idea is we were going to have some regions and some intersections. So if I just do the one, I think the one on the screen looks something like this. So there were just two lines, and those two lines created 1, 2, 3, 4 regions. A region is an area. There we go, there we can see the border, part of the circle and the lines. And the intersection is where they actually cross, okay? So bearing that in mind, what we wanted you to explore was if you draw 3 lines in the circle, how many regions can you get and how many intersections can you get, okay? And maybe even, as we said there, what's the maximum number of regions and intersections? So let's have a go. So let's move this across. So I guess we could do a very simple one. I could just do 1, 2, 3. Don't know if any of you tried that one. And then here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 regions, but I haven't actually got any intersections. So let's have a think.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's a quick question there saying, is it possible to expand the visualizer screen any bigger? I don't know whether it is. Did it go full screen? I don't know.
I thought I was on full screen.
Yeah, I think it's because you've got our sort of lovely pictures at the side of it as well, which I'm not sure we can do a lot of there.
So what can you see, Andy? Can you see?
I can see the visualizer, but I can then see both of those at the side of it as well. So it's sort of half of the screen, as it were.
Oh, So do we, oh gosh, I'm not sure how I can make my visualizer is full screen, unfortunately, so I'm not sure how I can even make that bigger unless
No, just I don't know. I would ask.
can't even, yeah. I don't know, I apologize about that. Hopefully you can, yeah, I don't know how to get rid of the camera, unfortunately. Maybe you can play around, Andy, I don't know.
Mhm.
It might disappear, but yeah, I'll carry on anyway. It's not all going to be on the visualizer, so please bear with us and we'll have a little look in a minute. So the other way we could possibly do it might be, I don't know if you've done this, 2 lines here, and then I'm going to do the 3rd line cutting through. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regions and 2 intersections. Now, is there another way that I could do this that might give me even more intersections and regions just by changing how I draw the lines? And I know it's going to be hard for you to put that in the chat, I understand that. So I'm going to draw it, and maybe you can tell me if you've got this one as well. So it could be some clever drawing, but it could be I go like that. Okay, so now I've got 1, this is a tiny region here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions, and I've got 3 intersections. Okay, so are there any other ways? And that maybe that's something you could explore. What would happen if we had 4 lines? Maybe that's something you could explore as well. It's just a good way, because sometimes you know, we need to try and visualize things in slightly different ways, or just thinking about position them in different ways, and sometimes that can be quite tricky. So yeah, have an explore of that further, maybe another time. So that will be in the handout for you to have a go at. Okay, so I'm going to now move on to the next slide and say Happy Oceans Day. So some of you might think, oh, why are you saying Happy World Oceans Day? It's a day that's set aside each year for us to just celebrate our oceans. Oceans are really, really important. We really need to look after them and preserve them and conserve them. And I'm sure you've seen things on the news, on ITV, or on different shows where they're saying it's so important with all the litter on the beaches and how we should be picking up our litter and all things like that. But the one thing that I thought was really nice that I read about today about World Oceans Day is how we all share one big ocean, if you like. There, you know, we've got lots of oceans with different names, but the sea, you know, flows all the way around the earth. And actually that connects us all together, you know, all around the world, which I thought was a lovely way of looking at the oceans as well. So we are going to talk a little bit about oceans later, but let's move on to our next activity. So it's again, once again, we've got shapes and we've got some regions. And this one is where you're now, if I'm going to go back to my visualizer.
Can I interrupt again, Fiona, just because we've got some very, a young lady called Eve in year 6 somewhere who's managed to sort the visualizer problem out. So I'm conscious that I can read this message and nobody else can read it. So to the side of the, this is at their end, I'm assuming. So if I just read that message out and see if this works for anybody else, if they need to make it bigger. To the side of the visualizer screen, there are 2 lines. You can click and drag them to make the screen larger and smaller. So somebody's worked that out at their end, so that sounds all good. If that's troubling anybody else, have a go at them.
Fantastic, lovely. So hopefully now you can see it all large, because we're going to do another problem now. Once again with shapes, with regions, but we're going to bring some numbers into it as well. So the numbers that we're going to use are going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now this is quite a simple one, so I'm pretty sure that most of you are going to be able to do this. Now, we're going to have a few rules, okay? Now, one of the rules is about the totals. So everything that we place in the circle must total 9, okay? And everything that we place in the square must total 10. I'll do that as square shape just to remind us. So what are the other rules? Okay, you don't have to have a number in all of the regions. So here we've got 1, 2, we've got 3 regions, okay? But you don't have to fill all of the regions, but you do have to use all of the numbers. So we have to use 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? We must make our totals. That's really important. And the other rule is, I don't know if it's a rule really, but we are allowed to have more than one number in a region, okay? So now we know that, hopefully with all that chatting through the rules, you've already started to work out where am I going to place these 4 numbers, because the circle's got to total 10 and the square has got to total, sorry, the circle's got to total 9 and the square's got to total 10. Now, what you do notice here is we have an overlap, okay? So where they overlap, that is going to be part of the square's total and that will be part of the circle. So they can share some of those numbers as well. Okay, is anything in the chat yet? Has anyone had a go at this? Where do I start? Because I'm looking at how I can combine these numbers to make these totals. And I'm already noticing that I've got a 5 and a 4, which make 9. I've got a 2 and a 3, which make 5. I think if I combine some others, I'm not sure how helpful that would be. So what do you think I should put in the center here? Let's have a go. Put some numbers in the chat for me. Should I put a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5 in the center where they overlap? What do we think? What do you think, Andy? Have you had a go at this?
Yeah, so my immediate thought was I would probably put the biggest number, which would be 5. I'd put that towards the biggest total. So I think I'd put the 5 into the red square. We've got a suggestion already come through the chat from one, two, 3 different people to put 4 in the middle, which seems like a possible idea, doesn't it?
Okay, so if I put 4 in the middle, I'm going to follow. So I've got to make 9 and a 10. So by putting
so if I understood this right then, Fiona, so if that goes in the middle there, it's going to count towards the total in the circle and the total in the square, isn't it?
It is. It is. I've got to put, I can leave some regions out. But let me think, because I'm thinking if I put a 5 here, that totals 9 and I need a 10.
Well, somebody else has jumped back in and said, no, don't do that, put the 5 in the circle.
Put 5 in the circle here. Okay, so now I've got my total, I've got 9. I must use all my numbers, remember, I've got 2 and a 3 left. So I can't put any more numbers in here because otherwise I'm going to change that total. But if I've only got a 2 and a 3 left, that's going to total 9 as well. Okay. A 2, a 3, and a 5. So if I just do that, if I do that, 7, that totals 9. I haven't got any more numbers to use. So I don't think that's going to work. Let me get another sheet.
I think somebody was suggesting somebody's just come through with a suggestion, I think swapping that 4 and that 5 round.
Ah, right. Okay. So let's, so we've got a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. Remember 9 and 10. So what they're suggesting is putting a 5 here. So if I put the 5 there, now I'm just thinking about
the 2 and the 3 they're suggesting in the square.
2 and the 3 in the square. Right, so now I've got 10 and then I've got left with 4 and I've got the 9. There we go, we've solved it. Well done, well done. I do have a trickier one and maybe we'll start it and then, because I'm thinking of time, I don't want to take all the time up. But I want to get you thinking, and this might be then a nice one to let's get started with it, but then I will leave you maybe to finish it another time. Okay, so this time we've got 3 shapes. We've got the circle, the square, and we've got a triangle. Got lots more regions, okay? All the same rules apply. So, but the numbers this time, are you ready for this? Are 15, 3, 11, 5, and 6. Okay. Now the circle, that total is going to be 18. All right. The triangle, 14, and the square, 11. Okay. I'll give you a few seconds just to start thinking about that with all of those numbers. It's quite tricky. One thing I noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this, is that we've got 15 as one of the numbers we've got to place. And if I look at my totals, the triangle is 14, which is obviously less than 15, and the same with the square. So I'm thinking in my head, there's only one place that we can put the 15. Where do you think that would be? Okay, so I think that's one that actually, just from a bit of knowing about numbers, we'll be able to place that there. That has got to go there. Okay. I've got another big total here, 11 as well. I'm going to have to think carefully about where I place them because otherwise that could mess around my totals for 14 and 11 or even 18 actually. Now, this is in the handout and I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger and I'm going to stop now and leave that with you to work out yourselves. And yeah, hopefully you'll come to the solution, or is there more than one solution? So yeah, happy investigating with that. Okay, right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because Andy's going to share his screen now. So just excuse us for a second whilst we do that.
Right, just bear with me. Can we see that a did you know slide? Okay, Fiona?
Yes, we can see that beautifully.
Right then, so we're returning to the ocean theme that we sort of mentioned at the beginning. So just a bit of background really before we get on to the next sort of problem for you to work out. So we've got a gentleman there in just on the right hand side of the slide. You might just be able to see what was called Zheng He, who was a Chinese admiral. And as it said there, about 500 years ago, people had not explored the world. They didn't realize the world was round. They thought the world was flat. But in the 15th century, so over 500 years ago, he led voyages around the Indian Ocean in a huge fleet of ships. It was so big that it seemed like a city almost. There were 300 ships. There were 27,000 sailors. And the flagships were known as treasure ships. And that's a clue to what we're going to do. We're going to try and get as much treasure as we can get. But as you can see from that picture there, these treasure ships were huge. So over 120 meters long, and they had more than 7 masts, some of them. So to give you an idea of how big those ships were, because this was a really long time ago. Yeah, if you've seen some big ships now, if you've seen any cruise ships, for example, if you think of something that's 100 meters long, so if any of you have ever been to a running track, like 100 meters is a long way to run. Or if you think how long your classroom is, it's a lot less. It's not a very big one. It's a lot less than 100 meters. So these ships were really, really big. So before we go into seeing how much treasure we can get from these treasure ships, Just a little bit of geography on to the next slide. I'll come back to that sort of piratey looking gentleman in a second. But have you ever heard there's a phrase called sailing the seven seas? You don't hear that so much anymore. But that goes back to these sort of ancient times as well, through when there were trade routes and people were discovering new countries, going to other countries to, to trade different things between different cultures and so on. And they weren't aware of all the oceans, as Fiona said at the beginning, that the fact that they went right around the world, because in fact they thought the world was flat. So they were only aware of a few of the seas. So that phrase originally, the seven seas, if we go back to Greek times, was the Arabian, the Adriatic, the Mediterranean, the Black Sea, the Red Sea, and the Caspian Sea. And then they also threw in the Persian Gulf as well. Obviously, as the world got bigger and people explored a bit more widely, they realized there were more. But if you get a chance, you might want to just have a look in an atlas or somewhere else and to see if you can work out which of those are which. So going back though to the treasure ships, that's where the next problem comes in. So if you've got a piece of paper and a pencil, that's all you'll need for this one. As Fiona said before, you can join in as we go along. Please do join in on the chat. I can't actually see the chat now, so if you could keep an eye on that, Fiona, as we go through that one. I'm just going to start this with a very simple one, just to give you the idea and give you the rules, and then we'll go to a slightly more complicated one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go onto one of these treasure ships and see how much treasure we can actually pick up from there and still escape. So there are a few rules with this one as well. So it says there mini cabin maze, so cabins, rooms on the ship. We're going to go through those rooms, and each room has a different amount of treasure in it. So you can see some of the room, well, the first room there has 3 bits of treasure. This one has 5, there's 4, there's 2, and so on. But there's only one way in, and there's only one way out. And the only other rule is that we can only go into each room once, because we're in a hurry. Because if we're going to try and pick up this treasure, we've got to do it rather quickly, haven't we, before they catch us. So we're going to start at the in bit. We can get in through this first door. I'm just going to switch from my little pointer to a pencil. It's not make it easier to see what I'm doing, won't it? So I might, for example, go right across the top. So I'm into the first cabin, go into the second cabin, then I'm going to go down. Okay, I've missed out 5 there. That's the biggest treasure room. So I'm going to pop in there, but I can't do that, can I? Because then I'm going to have to go back into that room for a second time. I can't do that. Right, so that's not going to work. So let me rush into the first one, then into the second one. I'm going to rush into that last one and then out. So how many bits of treasure have I managed to pick up there? So I've got 3, 7, 8, 9. So 9 elements of treasure. I think there's one other way I could do that, isn't there? Through going through all, well, not all of the rooms, but only going to each room once, because here I've missed out 5. So if I can find a room to miss out that is less than 5, that should mean my total should be higher, I think. So let me just undo that again. So if I rush into the first room, but instead of going across, I'm going to go down. And then I'm going to go across, and then I'm going to escape out the other end. So this time I've only left 4 behind, but I picked up 5 instead. So this time I've got 3, 8, 10. I've got 1 more on that occasion, and I still managed to go out. Okay, so hopefully we get the idea from that one. That's a quite simple one. We've only got 4 cabins on this fairly small boat. But if you remember, Zhengzi had these enormous 120-meter boats with 7 masts and so on. So there were a lot more cabins, a lot more treasure on that. I'm going to say this is probably still only a medium-sized ship, isn't it, this one? But same rules apply on this one. So I can go in through the hatch, and I've got to escape through this porthole at the bottom, but I can still only go into each room once. So in a bit of a panic, I'm just going to do that very quickly. Could you add these up for me as we go along, Fiona? And we'll see if we can improve.
I'll try. Yep.
So if I'm just going to run into the top one, run along the top deck. I need to go down to be able to escape. I'm going to come out the bottom there. So I collected 1 in the first one, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 8 in the last one. So 18, have I got that right?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah, but what I did do is I missed out 5 and 6 and 7. So I missed out some of the biggest treasure rooms. Now there. So let me try a second go. I'm going to go in, but I'm going to go down and run along the bottom deck. And then straight out. So that's got to be better, hasn't it? So I've still missed out the top ones, but this time I've only missed out 2 and 3 and 4, which is smaller. So if I add up my bottom ones, 27. So that's a considerable improvement, isn't it? But I suspect there's a better way.
We do have one that's come through in the chat.
Okay, right.
But, you know, I'm not going to tell you yet, Andy. I think you need to carry on working it out.
Right. Well, if everybody else would like to think of a better strategy than my just running along the top deck and out, or running along the bottom deck and out, then I'm going to try.
All I would say, sorry, so could say to the people that have sent it in, you can get even more coins. Have another look.
Right, what I'm going to do then,
yeah,
this case, I'm not going to run it all along the top or all along the bottom. I'm going to see if I can go up and down this time. So I've got to go in there, haven't I? Because that's the entrance. I'm going to go across and then down and up this time, see if that will work better. So I can go down to there, I can go through to that one, then I can go up again, then I can go across again. I'm still only going into each of these rooms once. And then I can escape still through the bottom. Right, how many have I got there? So I've got 1, 2, and then 6. 31?
31, yeah.
Right, so we've gone, let me try and remember now. It was 18, wasn't it, the first time along the top deck? Then it was 27, 31. I still think there's possibly a better way to do it. If you think back to the simple one.
Yeah, someone's put in the chat 1, 5. Now they've then said 2. Now actually we can't jump to 2 from 5, so they need to rethink that one.
Right. So we're near there.
Not climbing over walls, we've got to go through the doors. So
let me just have a go. Let's see if I can follow their logic through though, in which case. So
yeah,
they were saying I go in, I have to go in there, don't I? But go down to 5 instead of going to 2.
Went to 5. And then they've got 2 next.
So yeah, I can't get back up into 2, can I? Because I'd have to go into number 1. I'd have to go into 6 first, then I could go into 2.
Yeah.
And then 3, and then 7, then 8. I can't go up into 4 though, can I? Because then I wouldn't be able to go back down. I'd have to go up and down again. So that, yeah.
But you know what, Andy? That is 1 more than the total that you just had. That comes to 32.
Right. So that's beaten me already. But I've just realised there is one way that I can see to get more than that. What I'm going to need is a bit of help there, I think. So you could either, the easiest way to do it might be to tell me which number to miss out. Yes. Because I seem to have to miss out 1 room, don't I, each time?
Yes.
At least 1 room had to be missed out. And some of them I missed more than 1.
Well, if I'm
is it
looking
possible
at
to go in all the rooms? I don't think it is.
Because 1 you have to get, you have to collect 1 because you've got to go into that room. So the second lowest number is obviously 2. So is there a way of doing it, leaving 2 out of the equation, I wonder?
Right, so what we could do in the chat here then is a sequence of numbers, isn't it then?
Yeah.
So if you're saying miss 2 out, I'm guessing that means I've got to go down, doesn't it then? And across.
Yeah, it's coming through the chat. Well done, everyone. Yeah.
So where do I go after 6? You're saying I need to miss out 2, which does make sense, doesn't it? Because 2 is if I have to
Yeah.
use 1, 2 is the second smallest number. So that would be the best one to leave behind, I guess. So 7 next? Is that what people are saying?
They are saying that, yeah.
Right. So I think I can follow it from here then, because if I go straight through to 8, I've missed those 2 out on the top. So I must go upwards, then across, and then down, and then I can still escape. And I've only left 2 behind. I don't think I can do any better than that.
No.
That would give me 34.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well done to those of you that put that in the chat. There's quite a few coming through, which is good. So well done.
Right. I'm going to do like Fiona did. I'm just going to pose you a question then, in which case, because I think we worked out there that there wasn't any way that we could go into every single room. That was a medium-sized ship. If you remember, we talked at the beginning about these huge treasure ships. So what would happen if we added some more cabins on there? So you're going to have to forgive my terrible drawing here, because I'm just going to do it with these sort of pens. But imagine if I drew another cabin on here. So leave a little doorway on. Another cabin at the bottom. We leave a way to come out. So I'll have to pretend there's a doorway there. Look, there's a doorway here still. And we might have like 9 coins in that one, 10 coins in that one. Which one would I have to miss out this time? Or would I have to miss any of them out this time? Would it be possible for me to go into all of the different rooms? If it is possible for me to go in all of the different rooms, why is that then? Is there a pattern? So I'm going to leave that one with you there. So I think there's probably lots of exploring you could do with that yourselves after this. So extremely well done, everybody who worked that one out. I'm just going to rub these ones out for when we use this next time. But shall I just move this one on to your next little bit, Fiona, and we'll leave people to puzzle over that one?
Yeah, okay. Right, you might all be able to do this if you have a partner, okay? It's just called, well, I call it sort of like a bit of like a doodle game, really, a squirrel game. But what I need to do is I'm just going to get my pen, and actually I'm going to do that colour. I'm just going to take my pen for a walk across the page, okay? So just, it's great fun because it doesn't matter. There we go. Once again, look, I'm creating lots of regions. Seems to be a theme today. There we go. Right. So the idea is you have a partner and sorry, I just realized it's quite delayed, isn't it? There we go. There we are, my scribble. You have a partner and you can either both have a different color or the same color, really doesn't matter. But the idea is that you've got to color in a region. So let me choose a color. So for example, I'm going to be blue. Okay, now I'm going to color in a region. Excuse my coloring in because it's really difficult doing it on a Jamboard, but there we go. So I'm going to color, hopefully it should appear. There we go. I'm going to color that region in. Now the rule is that my partner, my component who's playing the game with me, they now have to color in another region. But the rule is they're not allowed to color anywhere that's going to touch the side of where I have colored. So they couldn't color here because that would touch. They couldn't color here because that would touch, not here and not here, because all of those touch. They could color here because it's okay for the corners to touch, okay? And the idea is you keep taking it in turns to color in until there's nothing left. And obviously, I guess it's going to be the last person to be able to color in somewhere is the winner. So it's quite good. Can I just
try that then, Fiona?
Yeah,
okay?
Go on, you have to go.
So I can't go here.
No.
That would touch. And I can't go here because that would touch, and so on.
Yeah.
So I could go, it's going to take ages to colour in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I could go into this one because sort of touching in the corners, sort of.
That's right.
not actually to, well, that's terrible.
Oh, that's good. Never mind.
Pretend I'm not colouring over the edges.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then I've got to choose an area. So now it's becoming more difficult because I can't touch my area's size nor yours. So I'm going to go here actually, and I'm going just to colour in. Now, you might want to have a bit of a strategy. You might just be quite random in where you're colouring. So it'll be interesting to see if it makes a difference if you have a strategy about what you're trying to do. There we go. So your turn, Andy.
This is even more stressful because I'm having to guess where yours was going to go because of that slight little delay on there. So I was planning where I was going to go, and then lo and behold, you coloured that one in anyway. Right, so I might stick this one over it on this side. Which is maybe not such a good choice, is it? Because that doesn't really stop you from doing anything.
No. Okay, whilst you're doing that, I'm just going to start colouring the next area because I'm obviously slightly delayed. So I've already started colouring mine. There we go. So hopefully you're here now. I hope you're all playing this as well. It's good fun. Just a couple of minutes game, but it really helps you with your spatial awareness, trying to work things out. Yeah, just making you observant.
Right, so I'm thinking I need to be a bit more cunning about this one. So I could colour in here maybe.
Okay.
And that would stop you doing this one next to it. But
I couldn't do that anyway.
No, you can't do that one. But if I go up here, that makes it 2 areas that you can't colour, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of 1.
Okay. That's very clever. Do you know, I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to colour. I'm just so you can see it. I'm starting to colour here because I think once again that's going to stop a lot of shapes being. I don't know if this is the best strategy, Andy, but there we go.
Yeah, well that takes 3 out of the ones I could choose from, doesn't it? So it's going to be a little bit like chess, isn't it? It's going to be thinking several moves ahead.
I know.
Which I'm not very good at doing.
This is big or as small as you want, actually.
Yeah.
So if you're starting off, you might want to maybe have less regions and areas, so that just to get the idea of it. Okay. Well, that's okay. That's interesting. So I'm thinking if I go here, I might have won. This is what I'm hoping. Okay, you're intrigued, aren't you? Because it's not appeared yet. Are you ready, everyone? Okay, so now it should appear. So have I stopped you now? And if I'm colouring in any others, have I had the last? Gosh, I hope you're all looking at as well. Are there any areas? So you can't go there. Oh, you found one. Oh, that was sneaky. You did that without me watching. Oh, no. I was too busy sort of thinking I'd won then.
You were basking in glory, weren't you?
I certainly was. Oh, do you think this... Sorry, I'm just going to do a little line. This one here, that touches, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think? Would you say?
If you'd done a pointy corner in that one, you'd be fine, wouldn't you, with that one?
Yeah, but I think, yeah, can I go have some, yeah. Oh, I'm trying to use your controls, right. So, oh, God, it might take some more out there. Sorry. I don't think
you might need VAR for that one, actually, Fiona. It could go either way, couldn't it? You could argue that it's only just touching, so it's a corner. It's an edge. Yeah.
Anyway, that might be some of the rules you might want to sort out if you're playing this in school or at home. But it's just a fun game, just takes a few minutes, but it really does, we're really starting to look now. It makes you very observant, looking at the shapes. Yeah, so sadly we've come to the end, Andy.
Yeah, but sort of speed past that, Johnson.
Yeah, so we really hope you've enjoyed today's session. Lots of different games, ideas that we've been doing, and yeah, I'll hand over to Andy just to finish off.
Yeah, just really to echo what Fiona said. Thank you very much for joining us today. We do these every term, so I email out all of my schools. My colleagues do the same. So an email will always come in advance of these. They're at different times during the term. You have to try and fit around sort of things that you're doing. They're not just for schools that we work with. If you have colleagues, any of the teachers have colleagues in other schools, they're more than welcome to join with us as well. But if you have any follow-up, if you have any questions, if you'd like anything else from us, then you can see my email address on the screen there. Those schools that I work with directly will already have that. If you work with others of my colleagues, you probably have their email address, but probably if you wish, you can email me as well. That's no problem at all. So thank you again for joining us. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope there's some stuff that you can follow this up with. And if you do that, if you do some stuff in school, if you could get some pictures of that and email it to us, either of you doing it or of the work that you've done, like the last puzzle or the maze puzzle, that would be absolutely fantastic. We love to see that, and we'd love to be able to share that as well. So thank you again. And if you've got any more to add, Fiona, but that's the end for us for the moment.
Yeah, only that, if you've got any friends that want to join, we are doing a couple more sessions of this, exactly the same thing, but yeah, please get them to sign up. And yeah, look out for the handout so you can have a go at some of these activities. So thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure being with you all today. So thank you.